This workshop's really for everybody who's involved in education, and particularly with a focus on language teaching. So, I say again, my name is David Heathfield, and the seed of this workshop is, well, it comes from me being a storyteller, really. I've been an English language teacher since I graduated. I've been a storyteller for, well, professionally, calling myself a storyteller for 12 years, 13 years, but my storytelling career emerged out of language teaching and of doing community theatre. And I've written a lot about drama and a lot about storytelling. And a new book which is called Integrating Global Issues in the Creative Language Classroom, with reference to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Isn't that one of the longest book titles you've ever come across? And basically there are 17 Sustainable Development Goals announced by the United Nations, and the first 17 chapters of this free downloadable online book, as soon as it's been published, the first 17 chapters match those 17 goals, things like no poverty, gender equality, clean water, peace, justice. All of these really vital themes are addressed in this book, how we can bring the global issues into our teaching and address them, because the classroom or the teaching of English is all about communication, it's what we do with language, and a wonderful opportunity to open up discussions and work on projects around these things. Now, I'm not going to, storytelling is only appropriate for that, not at all. My book, Storytelling with Our Students, which this workshop draws on that as well, is all about storytelling being a very potent way. It's the oldest form of education, if you like. But storytelling, I'm talking about oral communication storytelling, telling a story without dependence on a written prompt. Stories told from the heart, where each time we tell a story, it'll be different from the time before, depending on mood and the people I'm telling the story to. And there's actually 21 chapters in the book. After number 17, these last chapters are about how we can, general approaches to using global issues, not just one of the global issues. And my chapter 21, you can see I'm in very good company with great writers from all around the world. Storytelling for a Better World is chapter 21, and it's not just looking at one of those Sustainable Development Goals, it's looking at how we can, through storytelling, address global issues generally. And there are many, many stories, but in my chapter there are just 4 stories as examples, but the activities and the suggestions that go with them really are applicable with any kind of story, particularly oral stories from the world's oral cultures. And in the workshop I'm going to tell you 2 stories, and we're going to do activities that I recommend to work with learners of English. And the first story is a story from China. And in the story, which is called The Seed of Justice, there are 4 people, or groups of people: a poor old man, a fruit seller, the Emperor of China, this is a Chinese story, and his advisors. And also in the story there's a pear, and if I cut open this pear, what would you find inside?
Seeds.
Of course. There's a pear tree, and then there's this word group, steal, thief, theft. So already, before I start telling you the story, you're already imagining how might happen in this story. So can I just ask you, invite you, as I might do with students, or you might do with these 2 students sitting with you. And I'm going to emphasize the stories today as very suitable stories for teenagers, because they're stories that really make us question things. Question the way the world is, and how we might want to make that different. Okay. So could you just tell the person next to you what you imagine might happen in this story, The Seed of Justice? And there are no wrong answers. The story that you've just created with the story, this traditional story from China, and already the seeds are starting to sprout, the creative juices are flowing, the stories are cross-fertilizing, and here's the tale. There was once a poor old man. He was hungry. He had nothing. Every day he went into the forest and he cut firewood and took it to the city, but he could sell nothing. One day, hungry, he saw in the marketplace the fruit seller selling his sweet and juicy pears. Oh, how the old man wished to eat one of those pears. He imagined how good it would taste. And as he imagined, he found a pear in his hand and he was eating it. So sweet. "Stop," said the fruit seller. "Thief, you stole that pear." And he took the old man and he walked him to the palace of the great emperor. And he took him to the palace, and the emperor, there important, said, "Why did you bring this old man to me?" And the fruit seller said, "He stole one of my pears. He is a thief. He did not pay. You, O emperor, you must judge him." And the emperor looked at the old man and said, "You know, in my land, the punishment for theft is death." The old man looked at the emperor. He held out his hand. "Oh, great emperor, in my hand there is a seed. If this seed is planted in the gardens of your palace, by tomorrow it will grow into a great pear tree. And in the tree there will be pears of pure gold." The emperor was interested. He was a rich and powerful man, but he wanted to be richer. You know the way it is. The emperor looked at the old man and wondered. And he said, "Come with me." And he brought all of his advisors, all of the most important people of the court. And they went into the palace gardens. And the emperor said, "Now plant the seed here." But the old man said, "Oh, great emperor, I cannot be the one to plant the seed, because I am a thief. Only a person who has never lied and has never stolen can plant this seed so that it will grow and bear pears of pure gold. You, emperor, plant the seed." And the emperor, you know what he was thinking. "I am the emperor of China. It is not for me." And he turned to his first advisor, and the first advisor, afraid, refused to plant the seed. Every one of the emperor's advisors said no. The old man still held the seed. "It seems, great emperor, that there is no one who has never lied and never stolen. I am a thief, and I am a liar. This seed is not a magic seed. It will not grow by tomorrow into a tree with pears of gold. No. I stole the pear because I was hungry. I have nothing." The emperor listened. "Today, old man, you have taught me an important lesson. A lesson about justice. Go free." And the old man, he went out of the palace, and from that day on, everybody he met, he told them the story about the just emperor. Please, can I ask you just to quietly stand up where you are? You don't need anything to write. Just stand up where you are. You are the old man. And you're showing me, the emperor, this seed. The first time you show me the seed. Can I ask you to make a frozen image, a freeze, like a photo of that moment? Remember how old and hungry and poor you are. 3, 2, 1, and freeze. I can tell you're teachers. You did it so beautifully first time. With students, I'll often say, that's wonderful. Could you, when we do a freeze frame in drama and storytelling, we make it really big to tell the story with our still frozen body. Use your shoulders and your knees and your face. Make it even stronger. 3, 2, 1, and freeze. Wonderful. And relax. And now can I ask you to now switch? And now you are the emperor. But it's not the first time. It's the moment when I say, you should plant the seed. Because I am a thief, and only one who has never stolen or lied can plant the seed. How does the emperor react? I'm the old man offering you the seed. Let me see how you react. You're the most powerful man in all the land. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. And now can I ask you to turn and stand face to face with a partner? If you don't have a partner yet, can you put your hand up? Would you two like to work together?
Yeah.
Has anybody not got a partner? Teresa, will you decide to sit this one out? All right. Now, one of you is the old man. One of you is the emperor. And it's the moment near the end of the story. It's near the end of the story when the old man has admitted, or is about to admit, I should say, that the seed is not really magic. Could you make a freeze frame of that moment and hold it still? 3, 2, 1, and freeze. Silence. Hold that still and silent image. And when you hear the chime again, bring that moment to life. You are going to speak with the voice of the old man. How does it sound? You're going to be the powerful emperor. And the old man, you're going to explain about the seed. And the emperor is going to think, and he's going to understand. There is no one who has never stolen or lied. But you can use your own words. Are you ready? And action.
The seed won't
Thank you so much. And Elaine and Elizabeth have kind of volunteered, although I did ask them. But with students, I would emphasise that it's not a good idea to pressurise them into performance, but when there's just 2 in a class, it's a lovely opportunity. But it might be the teacher of one of the students that does the drama first, or it might be the 2 students, or it depends on the moment, if it's right at that moment. But just listen to Elaine and Elizabeth, and they've only had 1 crack at it. But before showing back, I'd often let students have more than 1 rehearsal before they show back. And after they finished, please tell them what you enjoyed, about their performance. So can I ask you to get ready? Frozen image. I know it's good because I was watching. 3, 2, 1, action.
But I'm a thief. And I'm a liar.
Well, today, there isn't a single person in this room, in this hall, who is not a thief and not a liar. And today, you, oh old man, have shown us all us wise people, that nobody should be hanged for taking a pear. Have this basket of pears and go forth and tell people your wisdom. Thank you.
Can I ask, let's just stay here a moment. And Mr. Taylor, could you tell Elaine and Elizabeth what you enjoyed about the way they performed that scene? And you can find out what they want to tell you.
Okay. Maria.
I enjoyed your use of repetition.
What did she repeat?
Oh dear.
Oh dear, yeah.
No one, maybe?
Not a thief,
Who else enjoyed that repetition in the language she used? It was powerful, wasn't it? Was it in keeping with the story?
Yeah.
Very much so, wasn't it?
Gestures. I really liked your use of gestures, and you were kind of. And there was also, considering it's fairly static, there was quite a bit of movement, which I thought was also quite good.
Very good use of the hands, wasn't it?
I like the.
Sorry.
I loved Elaine's regal nature. Regal being.
Regal being. She was channeling emperorship.
I've been practicing at home.
The emperor of your home.
I like the fact that she went beyond the story and said what
You
we all
say
wanted
you.
to say, which was take some food. It was
Yeah.
to show
Yeah.
mercy and also to show generosity. So to go beyond what the original story.
I really loved that. There was that creativity, going beyond, extending from what we'd started with a very simple story. That was it. Did you enjoy getting that comment, those comments from the other teachers?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, it's nice
Thank
getting
you.
peer feedback, isn't it?
Okay,
Thank you very
thank
much.
you.
I'm almost satisfied by that story. At the end of the story, he is given his freedom, the old man. And I love the way Elaine went beyond and said, also have this basket of pears. If you could be that emperor at this moment, is there anything else that you would like to give to that poor and hungry old man? Just, thank you very much. Just tell the person next to you and then tell us all in a moment. Yes. What else would you like to give to that poor, hungry old man?
The garden.
Somebody said
The garden.
a garden.
An orchard.
Can you tell us more about that?
Well, we were just talking about the fact that if you have a garden, you can grow food, and then you're not hungry anymore. So, and we felt that he taught the emperor something valuable, wisdom that his advisors couldn't. So, it's a gift. in response. His payment.
A garden where he can grow his own food
Yeah.
and sustain himself.
Yes.
Did anyone else talk about something similar?
Yes, we felt that the emperor should appoint him as one of his advisors.
Can you explain that?
Well, following on from what was said behind me, because he was able to see things that the present advisors were not able to see. He was clearly a man of great wisdom.
The advisors are a bunch of thieves and liars, isn't it? But his honesty.
With his thoughts, his feelings.
Would you like to give him that job of being an advisor to the emperor? Maybe the chief advisor to the emperor?
I think it's good.
Sorry to interrupt for a second. What would happen if that, in that case, if that poor old man became the chief advisor to the emperor? What would be the consequences of that for the land?
Politics.
Can you explain?
Bringing somebody in from outside with no experience would probably upset the rest of the
It would
troop.
upset the status quo,
Yeah.
political establishment, something rocking there, some kind of revolution perhaps. Anything else? Any other consequences?
Yeah, strife and envy is similar to that.
Strife and envy.
And he may become corrupted.
He might become
The
corrupted.
reason he can see clearly is because he is outside. He's an outsider, isn't he? So maybe he needs to stay like that to have the wisdom.
Oh, right. Were there any positive benefits of him becoming an advisor?
I think the emperor, if he'd just given him something like a garden, or he's just giving the gift, but he's not really getting anything out. It's quite a wise thing for the emperor to make him an advisor because he's getting the benefit of his wisdom then.
Yeah.
He didn't have to be an advisor, he could have
Yeah.
some capacity as some other job.
Mentor.
Keeper
Yeah.
of
the
royal pet. Yes.
Do you think that land could potentially become more just as a result of him becoming an advisor?
The old
I
man
mean,
did introduce
has he got more empathy and more understanding of the ways of the
He doesn't-
discriminated
He
against
doesn't
in
have to
that
become an
society?
official advisor, does he? As long as he stays geographically reasonably close, it doesn't stop the emperor going to see him for advice.
We want him to be an official advisor.
You wanted to be official. So here, all right, we're at the beginning of a debate here, and I'm going to just stop it there, but just see the potential of where this can go in terms of a story leading into a very interesting, fruitful discussion. And this is really what I'm looking at in this particular workshop, is how a story can become inspiration or a launching place for project work about issues. And also a good thing about using a very short and simple folktale like this one, we could call this a wisdom tale, is that it can become like a touchstone that when you're discussing that issue and maybe reading about it or researching about it, you can come back to that story, which in itself is full of metaphor, and use it as a place to come back. Well, what would the emperor have done? What would it have been like? Stories are powerful for unlocking issues. Now, I'm talking a little bit about response to stories here. It seems that it's not just in the story itself that we learn, it's also in our response to the story that we learn a great deal and think a great deal. And by sharing ideas, we can get a lot more ideas. Let me tell you a story of injustice, a personal story. And afterwards you might want to talk about one of your own. This story of the seed of justice reminds me of something that happened a number of years ago when my older son Tom was at school, and he was 14 or 15, and he had to make choices about what he was going to study. And he really didn't know what to study out of a certain set of options at his school in Exeter, and he chose technical drawing. He didn't really know why he chose technical drawing, but within weeks, I think even a matter of 2 weeks of starting that year, Tom had this kind of moment when he realised that he wanted to do music. He suddenly, that age when lots of teenagers suddenly music becomes core to everything that they do and think and feel. And Tom got a guitar, I played the guitar as well, he got a guitar, he was playing the guitar. And he said, I want to change, I want to do music. And we said, well, we'll see. And my wife and I, we contacted his the music teacher at the school, and she said, I know Tom, yes, he can change to music. But a couple of days later, we got a message from the head teacher saying, sorry, Tom can't change to music. We can't have that. And my wife made an appointment to see Dr. Nameless. And he's retired, so I could say his name, but I wouldn't. And she went to see him, and he smiled and offered her a cup of tea. And my wife describes this moment when he turned back with the cup of tea, and there was his face somehow changed, and he said, if your son is allowed to change, then other children and everyone will want to change. We can't have this. So we were very upset. Tom was passionate about music at the stage, and he really didn't like technical drawing, and this seemed to kind of make it all worse. So he kind of stopped attending, stopped concentrating. He's a bit of a daydreamer anyway, but I wonder where he gets that from. And after a while, Tom, we managed to organise, we appealed against this decision. And it went all the way to a Board of Governors meeting. And my wife and I were there. It was all very formal, a bit scary. So it was several months had passed by this stage. It was all very slow. And the conclusion was, we really understand that this didn't work out well for Tom. And we're going to make sure it never happens again to another child at our school. But unfortunately, it's too late for Tom. So Tom had to do that whole year of technical drawing. He didn't even go to his exam. He refused, he protested. He felt so strongly about what had happened. He felt a huge injustice had been done, as we did. That's my story. That's my story. How would you like my story to have ended? Please tell the person next to you. How would you like my story to have ended?
I would like every child, when they choose an option, to be able to try it out for a couple of weeks.
Same as at university.
Yeah.
But from now on, or in Tom's case as well, would you like Tom?
Yeah, I would like.
It's too late for Tom.
Yeah, but I wanted Tom to be able to do the music.
Yeah.
But as a result, I would like in future children to be able to try it out, have a trial 2 weeks.
And I hope that's what happened afterwards. But it's too late for my son.
But didn't it make him more keen to do it? I mean, music, didn't it?
We'll talk about that later.
I'd like to do that.
I'd like to go on a few years, you know, and read in the paper somewhere, you know, the old headmaster said about Winston Churchill will never amount to anything. And I'd want Tom to become a top musician.
Lovely, thank you very much. Thank you for that. That's a lovely idea. Was there another idea anybody wanted to share?
I was just going to say, I think from the point of view of a story shape, we needed something else.
Okay.
It ended, and I didn't know else. I was thinking, oh. Yeah.
Okay.
So it didn't go anywhere.
Well, sometimes stories in the real world.
In the real world, exactly.
Don't
And that's
go
why they're not
anywhere.
great stories. But the point with this is, if you had been able to say,
If you can wait till the end of the workshop, you'll find out at the end.
well, I was going to
Okay.
say, I'm sure
So,
there's more to it. Yes.
That's my story of injustice. Now, some of you are already thinking, oh yeah, maybe I have a story somewhere in my mind that I don't mind sharing in this room about a case of injustice. And I think most people do, whether it happened directly to them or to somebody they know. And it might take some time for that seed of an idea to come to their mind. So students might need a day of contemplation before they think of their own story. But it can be very powerful to talk about those injustice stories. Is there anybody who's willing to share a story with the people around them? A very brief story like mine about an injustice that they or someone they know suffered? One. Save it for a moment. One over here. One over here. Your hands up. Yes? 1, 2, 3. Any more? 4? Anyone? 5? 5, thank you. Okay, could those 5 people put your hand up? And could you get into groups of about 3? Okay, so everybody's in a group of 3 listening to one of those storytellers. And at the end of listening, please can you say how you would like this story to end? Do you find your listeners' ideas, did you find them supportive?
Yes.
Did you find them enlightening in any way?
Very indignant on my behalf.
It's powerful when we share these kinds of tales. It seems a story like The Seed of Justice takes us, beyond boundaries of culture and gender, where women imagining we're emperors and etc., and other cultures and language. It develops empathy, and they deal with hard topics, things like injustice and inequality. But the story offers the beginning of a solution, this idea of, you can go free and tell the story. But we can take those ideas and develop them in the classroom practice. Deal with quite interesting topics through mental imagery, drama, metaphor. Students can voice what concepts such as justice and equality mean to them. And there's some German teenagers doing these activities. This is one of the Angolan students I mentioned, the Saudi guy. Actually, I just want to show you something, if I may. Would you like to see a short video clip? And Bashay and Lily. And Lily just told a story in her group about how she had been to a restaurant in London about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she had gone to pay, and the person, I'm not sure if it was the waiter, it must have been the waiter, said, you have to pay extra because you're not British. And she said, no, I don't have to pay extra. And this person insisted, and you'll hear what happened. And she told that story, and she talks about the advice that Bashair gave to her about how she would like the story to end. So this is. I'll just turn the volume up a little bit here, so you can hear it clearly. Okay, so this is Lily talking about what happened.
Review on the internet. This restaurant is all for discrimination for the foreigner like us, things like that.
And what do you think of that idea?
I think that one is best idea. Complain to the restaurant or other.
The restaurant that overcharged you?
Yes, because I'm Asian. You're not native British, so you need to pay more. So I said, why? Yeah, so I just pay just protocols.
And did you give it a review on the internet?
No.
And now that Bashaya said that, do you think you might?
Yes.
And she did. She gave it a review on the internet, and also her friend in Korea wrote a review on a Korean blog. So yeah, there was something she wasn't going to do that. She was going to leave it. Very easy, isn't it, for our students to leave something like that? And you know what? This isn't uncommon, this kind of story. Students don't talk about it in class unless we give them an opportunity to talk about it. Real injustices happen all the time. I heard some of your stories dealt with similar issues about way people have been treated, even in this wonderful country we live in. So, doing such activities allows for the possibility of change. So we can take these ideas and expand them into bigger projects, research, real deep discussion. I mean, flower and bloom. With storytelling, stories are told, stories get retold, there's a cross-pollination, cross-fertilization. Creative thinking can emerge through the sharing of folk tales, which might be then echoed in personal tales. So the question I've got for you is, how could creative storytelling tasks contribute to a project with your students? So you imagine you're teaching these 2 teenagers, or whoever you're teaching, about making the world a better place? How could you bring story and discussion and difficult topics, global issues, in your teaching context? Just share any thoughts you have, any experiences you have maybe with the people around you. Just a couple of minutes of reflection, and then we'll have some questions as well.
To the local park and we sat down in this little cafe, and I've done it for, you know, like physical descriptions, and if you were a witness, how would you describe this person later on? But we've also used it with the older ones with people watching. And ask them to make up stories about these people. You know, where do you think they work? Do you think they're married? Do you think they, you know, are they thinking? Or
creating a story about those people that they observed. Yeah. Lovely. Do your students trust everything that you say?
Yes.
They do often, don't they? It's time for them to be a little bit more critical, perhaps. So I'm going to finish off with a story. This is a Sufi story, a tale of the dervishes, if you like. So it comes from the Middle East, where so many great wisdom stories come from. It's a very ancient tale. And in the story, there's a teacher. There was once a teacher, and this teacher was very wise. Whatever questions her students asked, she could always give them a wise answer. Any question she could answer. And this went on, and in the end the students became tired of this. They wanted to challenge her, to give her a question that she would not be able to answer so easily. So one of the students went and caught a small bird. And the next lesson the students stood in front of the teacher, and that student, she said, "Teacher, what I've got in my hands, is it alive or is it dead?" And the teacher looked at the student, and somehow she knew that this student had a bird in her hands. And the teacher thought and said, "If I say the bird is alive, she will crush the bird and show me its dead body. If I say the bird is dead, she will open her hands and the bird will fly away free." The teacher thought longer and finally said, "The answer is in your hands." Now, so many of these wisdom stories are metaphors. How could, well, first of all, what does that story mean to you? The answer is in your hands.
You have to decide how the story ends. It's
You
not
have to
me.
decide how the story ends, not me. Okay, that's an interesting interpretation.
You have the power to shape your own destiny.
You have the power to shape your own destiny.
You have the power to shape the destiny of other people. Or other things.
You can't shape the destiny of other people or other things. It's in your hands. You have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
There's so many teenagers say, "Oh God, the world's so bad, but I can't do anything about it." In fact, so many of us feel that a lot of the time these days.
Especially at the moment.
Especially at the moment. Oh yes, it hasn't. You say it's ever been so, but it does seem particularly bad at the moment, doesn't it? The answer is in your hands. So take that little story. What could you do with that story creatively? And I'm not going to give you tasks to do because we've already talked about that a little bit with the Seed of Justice. But what could you do with that story with some teenagers that you might be teaching? Just
I thought maybe you could do something like exploring the idea of the greater good. What's more important, your reputation or the greater good? In other words, you know, the fact that the bird lives or the fact that you lose your reputation of being...
yeah. Think about the greater good. Radio Devon yesterday, I was driving to work, came on the radio and someone said, "I think when we go to vote, we shouldn't think about what's best for me, we should think about what's best for everyone."
Well,
It's simple, isn't it? But lovely idea. Yeah, think about the greater good. What could you do with that story?
Are there any situations where there might be a crossroads and they have to make a decision? Can they think of any?
Think of a
real-life
case in
situations?
your story,
Yeah.
in your life,
Yeah.
where you've been at a crossroads and had to make a difficult decision. And what decision
And
did you make?
the right one?
Did you make the right
What
one?
would have
What
happened?
would have happened?
Yeah.
So much potential. Turning points. Personal turning point stories are wonderful. They're also great for third conditional, aren't they? But yeah, turning points. Okay, what might have happened?
The difference between wisdom and knowledge. So the teacher always knew the right answer. That doesn't make you wise. What makes you wise is making a correct decision with the knowledge you have.
I think some of this seems to lend itself almost, because you're saying that you can't expect them to get an instant response, almost as like a homework where they've got a bit of time to then think about what they're wanting to write maybe, and then you could, the next day you could really go over with it. I think that would be...
Sometimes it takes a while for stories to filter through. Then, the two stories I've told you today, you might find yourself thinking about these stories tomorrow or a week later and think, oh, that reminds me. I don't know. I have to finish here. There's an image, and if you don't know about it, check out the Hands Up project, which involves storytelling with children in Palestine online. And I've done a little bit of it as a volunteer. It's an interesting project, the Hands Up project. And I've got a YouTube channel with stories. Then went to Exeter College, and at Exeter College he did one course but didn't enjoy it, so he dropped out and he did music. He did a what do you call it? B-Tech in music, and then he did go back, and then he did English, and then he did his degree at Falmouth University in English and creative writing, and this is a song that he wrote while he was at Falmouth as part of his creative writing course. It's an autobiographical story. So that's the ending you wanted, isn't it?
What's he doing now?
Now last week he started his CELTA course in Madrid. Where does he get it from?
Evaluation in the bag. In the bag.
23.